Hey guys, so I wanted to talk today about Makeup Forever HD foundation. And this is a recent purchase for me, and this is actually the first non-drugstore foundation that I've ever bought, which I know sounds crazy to some of you, makeup gurus out there, but I think there comes a point in every woman's life where, you kind of have to make the switch. And I made the switch very recently, and I'm very happy with that decision. So I want to talk about why I made the switch, the process of choosing this foundation, because I was really clueless when I walked into Sephora. Like, there's a million things out there. So what influenced me to buy this? And am I happy with the results? So first let me talk about the kind of skin I have. I've talked about in previous videos the kind of problem skin I have, and I do have acne scars, which include some discoloration and indentation. Now, for better or worse, this videotape just not videotape, but this video just makes my skin look much better than it actually is, and I'm not complaining, but unfortunately it doesn't really benefit the viewers. But take my word for it. I have huge pores in here, and I have a lot of discoloration, and I am wearing a powder foundation. So I'm actually not wearing HD. That it might not be the smartest idea when I'm making an HD video, but yeah. And also, if you're wondering why I'm sitting on the floor, I basically couldn't get the Mac cord to reach to the couch. So I have my morning coffee, and I'm actually quite cozy. So let's start. So why did I make the switch to, from drugstore foundations? Basically, like I said, I have problem skin, and I'd always been pretty satisfied with, just like a normal CoverGirl or Maybelline foundation, because of course I don't have anything to compare it to. And so at the same time, I was always very conscious of my acne and I wanted to cover it up. However, I did not want to look like I was wearing a lot of makeup because in my experience, when you have acne scars and of course when you have raised scars, sometimes when you try to cover it up, it just almost looks worse because it's like, well, it's obvious that you're wearing makeup and you're trying to cover it up, but it sucks because you're failing because people can see that you still have scars and they almost look worse because you're like bringing attention to them, if you know what I mean. So I just wanted to avoid that altogether, and I was like, you know what? I have acne scars and I guess I just have to like deal with it. So I would wear makeup, but very minimally. And one day I was talking to my friend, and those conversations when, you are asking a friend for advice, and your friend just all of a sudden like keeps it real. So that's what happened. And I was like, you know what, how can I improve my skin? And she's like, girl, what kind of foundation do you use? And I was like, oh, just some CoverGirl or whatever. And she didn't even see that I was wearing it then because I was wearing such a minimal amount. And she's like, you know what, well, you do need to wear more foundation. But I totally understand the fact that you don't want to look like you're wearing a lot of foundation. And the problem with the cheap drugstore brands, here's the thing, the more you pile on, the worse it looks instead of the better it looks. And I think that, in general, if you wear a lot of any foundation, of course it's going to look cakey, but like it takes a lot less of the drugstore foundations to look cakey. And so what she told me is if you go to like Sephora or a department store or something, those foundations do make a big difference because you can pile on a little more and it won't look cakey and it'll actually make your skin look better. And I know that sounds like a gimmick, but it's true. And my friend is actually a professional makeup consultant, and we happened to be having this conversation in Paris. I was briefly doing a teaching program in Paris, and just living there, like the women, they take really good care of their skin, and it just makes you really self-conscious, be like, oh my god, like, my skin is horrible, so I really need to, like, look my best. So all of these factors combined, convinced me. I was like, okay, you know what? I will make the jump. So she agreed to go with me to Sephora, which is really sweet. And so we went in there, and I was like totally overwhelmed because there's a million foundations, and all I really had to go on was one, I have oily, combo, and acne-prone skin. I want something that's not gonna, clog my pores, but I also want something with high coverage, and I don't know if these two things are mutually exclusive. And another thing was price. I really wanted to keep it under 30 or $40 or euros at the time, and I think I paid like 32 euros for this. Um, so we went in there, and like right away, the makeup consultant referred me to Makeup Forever HD. And what she told me is that she really recommends this for women who are in the media, who are on TV, or even, in short films or whatever, because this photographs really well, and, it looks great on video as well. And so I think that was the wind. I think that's where the strength of this foundation really lies. Like up close, of course it does cover, obviously, but you can still tell you have big pores and, and some acne. But it makes a huge difference from not wearing foundation. But the real strength of it lies when you back up, when you zoom out, and you look at yourself from a few feet away. There's just something that goes on in that distance. And I'm not a physicist, so I can't explain the physics of this light reaction, but it just smooths out really well in the light. And I remember, taking a sample of this and looking at myself from about a few feet away. I was walking down the street, and you know how you check yourself out, like, on the DL on the street. And I was doing that, and I was like, oh my God, my skin looks great. Like, it literally looked flawless. And that's never happened to me. And at the same time, it didn't look cakey, and I was really happy with it. So while it is a high, medium, not say high-end coverage, it is really not cakey at all. And I had just never gotten that. Like in drugstore foundations, I'd always looked at like either the concealer or just the liquid foundation, and I wanted something like really in the middle, like in between the two. And I just could never find it because the liquid didn't cover enough, and I hated concealers. They looked so cakey and just terrible. So this has been really great for me. I will say I couldn't find my shade totally exactly. This is a little more yellow than my skin, and it's just a shade darker than my skin. But however, it does blend really well, and I have to say with this, like any foundation I guess, wait until after your lotion or sunscreen sets in. That's huge. Like for a while I didn't know that, and I would just apply it after my sunscreen, and it would like just soak into my skin. I'd be like, what the F is going on? Like it almost looks like I'm not wearing makeup. And then I learned to wait about 10 minutes or so, and it makes a huge difference. And so in sum, I really like this. I think that if you don't know where to start, like if you're just making the switch from drugstore foundations to higher quality stuff, this is a great place to start. Or if you're just a student, and you don't want to spend like $100 on a foundation, but you still want something high quality that will not wreck your skin while making it look good, this is a great place to start. And I do want to say that previously I had always thought that drugstore foundations, and definitely like designer label foundations, always just, they charge you more money because they could for the brand name, and you didn't really get anything out of it. I thought it was kind of a marketing ploy. And talking to my friend, the makeup consultant, she was like, you know what, I think there are certain foundations, like maybe Yves Saint Laurent, that are just so expensive. And they don't have to be that expensive, and paying that much money, you could get, like, you don't have to pay that much money to get that quality of a foundation. But that is not true with HD foundation, and I think generally things in the $30 range. I think when you make the leap from like a $7 or $8 or $12 concealer to a foundation like this, it really is worth your money. It lasts longer. It doesn't even stay on longer, but it just covers better. You end up using less of it. And my skin does feel better. And that was a huge thing. I don't need to buy like, super expensive mascaras or lipsticks, but because I do have problem skin, I don't want to take any chances on my skin, and this is kind of the minimum quality. Oh my God, there's cracks in this. Shit. Sorry. But yeah, this is just like the minimum quality that I would be okay using on my skin. And I've gotten a lot of compliments actually on my skin, which, if you have problem skin, you're really self-conscious about it, and compliments are few and far between. So when you do get something that works, you're really excited about it. And yeah. So, you know, go out, go to Sephora. Do go to Sephora in the daytime or wherever you decide to buy your foundation so you can really look at it like up close in the sunlight. That's huge. And go with a friend if you can, a friend who's going to keep it real and just really tell you how your skin looks. Because obviously the Sephora ladies, you know, some of them are great, but some of them, you know, do just want to, you know, get you out of the way and make their sale. So go with somebody you trust and don't be afraid to take a sample and really just see how your skin reacts to it in different settings, because I've said this in another video, but that lighting in Sephora is just not representative of, you know, normal everyday lighting. Like, unless you're in a chemistry lab or under a surgeon's table, you're not going to be under like bright fluorescent lights. So sunlight is your harshest critic. Go out into the sun, even if you just want to step outside the store and look at a mirror. A lot of times they'll do that for you. And, you know, really look at yourself up close. So don't be scared to do that. So I love Makeup Forever. I'm going to be using this. So until I get, a really well-paying job or, you know, get out of school, I think I'm going to stick with this. So good luck to you and have fun on your shopping trips.